Welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off, which is, I believe, after we had that nice little talk with Vole, and after that, really, something with the elders. So yeah, let's see what comes of that. Daybreak comes quick enough, and I'm already rustling around the house getting cleaned and dressed. My morning routine is brought to a halt when I notice something troubling. The dandelion nestled comfortably inside the cup is not fully open. I inspect it closely, noticing that the outer petals look rather dull, and I realize that it began to wilt. I know I could easily replace it with one of the hundreds that grow outside, but to me, it's more than just a flower. It's not even about Ranok giving it to me. I have plenty of mementos, but rather about the time that has passed since his departure. It's been 4 days, and although I've been kept busy, I'm not only missing him, but also now I'm growing incredibly worried. The talk of war at the villa, the elders calling for Ranok's blood, and Vole jesting about the possible Silovan uprising, it's all too much. Anything could have happened to those packs, and Ranok's life is in danger either way. Even if he does come back unharmed, that doesn't mean he's safe. Besides, everyone talks about a rescue mission, preparing for the worst. I worry he might have witnessed something horrible. They're all gone. A sudden chill fills my heart with dread of death. If that's the case, if they all perished, I wouldn't even know how to console him. One lost friend would be bad enough, but losing a whole bunch of them could break a person. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. No matter what happens, I'll try to be there for him. You'll never be enough. I know. I reply in resignation. I know I matter little in the grand scheme of things. I'm just a leaf blown on the wind. But I'll be there for him nonetheless, no matter what you say. I just want to see my wolf come back unharmed. Heal. Enough! I command with all my strength. I do not need your help to worry about him. I worry not because of your incessant meddling, but because he saved my life. He's a good wolf with many who love him. Should anything happen, I won't be the only one to suffer. So leave me be. I have enough to spare to deal with. I stand there for what feels like hours, gently petting the flower and succumbing deeper to fear. Any more, and I would have broken completely, but a decisive knock pulls me out of my stupor. I blink away any moisture and rub my cheeks. I'm fully aware it's Vole. I recognize the forceful sound of his knuckles against the wood. I approach the door and pull them wide open, mustering a welcoming smile. The wolf walks in, allowing me to close the door behind him. Here's your chow, piglet. He passes me a linen bundle. Thanks. I accept and turn towards the table when his massive paw lands on my shoulder and stops me in my tracks. I face him slightly confused as his nose twitches awkwardly in my direction, as if picking up on an odd scent. It's just lavender soap Verissa gave. I smell fear and anxiety. Huh? I blink, immediately put on the spot. Your heart is out of rhythm as well. What rattled you so? Fuck, their mood detectors really make an attempt at a poker face completely pointless. I don't see any reason to lie to him either, although I'm sure he'll just brush it off as me being a whiny bitch. I'm just worried about Ranok. It's been 4 days. I try to sound brave, but my voice wavers, and he picks up on it immediately. Seriously, Piglet, he's an alpha. He's fine. You're being emotional again. Yep, there it is. Thanks, Vole, that cheered me up to no end. I shrug and brush away his paw. Since he can read me like an open book, I stop pretending and put my despondency on full display. I plop the parcel onto the table and unravel the linen. Again, I find a selection of meat and cheeses, accompanied by 2 freshly baked rolls. But even this homely meal cannot bring a smile to my face, as all the joy got sucked out of me. I know that something pushes me to feel sad and hopeless, but now is the right time to allow those feelings. I am worried, I am sad, whispers or without. A deep sigh draws my attention back to the wolf, who looks at me with a resolute expression. Yesterday noon was the latest Ranok would have reached the northern border. I guarantee he's already located the missing packs, and if they aren't on their way back yet, they'll be soon. You have nothing to worry about. You keep saying that, but... Actually, no. The only thing you have to worry about is bringing this house up to scratch. The wolf interrupts, giving me a scornful look. There's no moonshine, and the beer is nearly gone. Barely managed to fill a mug yesterday. And I can smell the sweaty linen all the way from here. Some good attendant you are. He scoffs mockingly, and I feel thrown off. I bet you didn't even do his laundry. Your master is returning home from a long and exhausting mission, and this is how you greet him? Despite his crude words, I smile, trying not to tear up as I realize what he's doing. He's attempting to cheer me up and steal my resolve in his own Vole-ish way. He's driving the point home that Ranok is coming back, and I couldn't be more grateful for this. I know it's not easy for him to show concern, so I decide to play along. I don't know where to get the beer from. Well, we can easily amend that. He walks towards the doors and opens them nonchalantly. I look at him confused as the male nods towards me. You coming? What? Where? To the brewery. I can spare an hour or so. I'll help you stock up on booze for Ranok's return. Laundry you'll have to do on your own. He sneers and I nod, laughing. For sure. I approach the doors only to stop at the last moment. I throw my gaze towards the table and decide to take the dandelion with me. I've kept it in the house for way too long. Perhaps some light might help it unfold again. I push the flower into my pin and follow the wolf outside. We hop over the steps and Vole leads me towards the village center. As usual, zip it, piglet. I nod in agreement and silently follow. The cool morning breeze pushes the silk dress against my skin, and I have to admit, I begin enjoying how sensual it feels. I don't think I wore silk before. I'm not surprised royalty dresses in it exclusively. It's so comfy. I'm enjoying my garment so much that only now I notice how the wolves scurry about. With Vole walking beside me, there are no evil eyes or growls from yesterday. I'll have to keep that in mind when I'm out alone. Those cowards are only barking when I'm without an alpha at my side. The tribe is very much up and running, with different shops open and bustling with activity. As we pass the stockades, I notice someone arguing with a fishmonger about their wares. In fact, I could smell the argument from afar. You dare say my fish is old? Old? It's downright rotten. It stinks up the entire place. Come here and say it to my muzzle. Looks like it's about to turn into a fistfight. I whisper softly, covering my nose, and Vole chuckles. Yeah, wouldn't be the first time. We speed up slightly, trying to escape the undeniable stench of old fish. Definitely not a catch of the day, that's for sure. I mutter nasally as I'm pinching my nose. More like catch of last week. The black wolf laughs, visibly holding his breath, and I join in. It's nice to share a joke. We leave the built-up streets of the village, and the houses become scarcer and scarcer. The bad stench is left behind, and we're able to breathe freely. It would seem like we've arrived at the opposite edge of the settlement from Ranok's cottage. There's a clear path here, but no houses around, and we continue walking beneath the woodland canopy for a short while. Eventually, my nose is hit with a different, yet somewhat familiar smell, reminding me of plain cornflakes. An involuntary smile appears on my face as I reminisce about eating a bowlful dunked in cold milk. Vole notices and gives me a rather unsettling gaze. You're enjoying this? Oh yes, it's the smell of breakfast for me. Breakfast? Oh my. The black wolf grimaces. Smells like pig chow to me. Then again, you are a piglet. Ha ha. As we approach a solitary homestead roofed with what appears to be moss and grass, the smell intensifies and becomes less pleasant. It's a sickeningly sweet smell now, overpowering even, and I finally cover my face again with a shawl. A chubby wolf is standing in front of an open kiln, topped with a massive copper vat. It boils and bubbles, the source of the aroma permeating the air. Tibald! Vulgar! The wolf exchanges cordial greetings, but the stranger quickly centers on me with a rather unsettled expression. And I see you brought a visitor. Creepy looking thing. Don't act like you haven't seen him at the feast. Look, he's right. I recognize the male. He was one of the many onlookers Tano peddled me to. He even scored a petting on my head, which he now relieves again through a gentle ruffling of my hair. Haha, I did. The wolf concedes through a chuckle. I have a weak spot for creepy crawlies. And he calls me an insect. Anyway, what can I do you for? I've come to restock Ranok's cellar. Ha, again? You need to stop raiding his supplies. I second that. Had not for Vole, we wouldn't have to be here in the first place. Why are you bitching about it? It keeps your business running, doesn't it? Fair. The male nods again. So, what do you need? The usual? Nah, I need the stout Ranok likes. You have a spare barrel? I do, but the stuff ain't cheap. It's one that goes to the villa. I know. It would seem you can take the wolf out of the palace, but you can't take the palace out of the wolf. Ranok has some refined tastes. I also need moonshine, but the drinkable one, triple distilled. Someone feeling generous today? Tibald laughs and walks towards his cottage. Once he disappears inside, I look to Vole with a mixed expression. He seems nice, I say with slight irony. Keep quiet. The black wolf brushes it off and keeps his eyes drilled to the doorway. Eventually, the chubby wolf strolls out, holding a small clay flask in his paw, similar to the one in Ranok's house. Nah, fuck your little bottles. Give me one of the big flagons. Vole protests, pointing towards the workshop, and I blink in shock at the sight of them. They must be 5 liters at least. An entire flagon? You need to pace yourself, lad. I agreed. I won't be taking drinking advice from the village drunk. Drunk? Bah! Tibald takes the insult surprisingly well, simply laughing it off. I just need to make sure my wares are up to scratch. You don't see me taking bits out of every slab I hand out. Meat is different. It's primitive and vulgar. He protests, pointing to the bubbling vat. This is art, boy. Very well. I'll remember that next time you come around my shop. Vole sniggers. I'll make sure to give you the most primitive and vulgar cut I can find. Vindictive like your mother, I see. My eyes widen, and I hope there's more of their banter to come, but the wolf simply walks towards the assortment of barrels resting against the house. Anyway, 1 barrel and 1 flagon. You'll have the whelp take care of it? He pats one of them, nodding towards me, and I swallow heavily. In your dreams, old man. And break his arms, or worse yet, break the barrel. He can carry the moonshine. Kinda useless as a word, isn't he? The wolf mutters, narrowing his brows as Vole approaches him. It almost seems like you're taking him out for a walk. Unless you shove the flagon up my ass, I don't see how else I'd carry it back on my own. Haha, fair. Both wolves grab the topmost barrel and struggle to move it. As it looks somewhat unstable, with just the 2 of them, I rush to their side and, with what little strength I have, try to prevent the thing from tipping over. See, not as useless as you'd think. The barrel thuds against the ground and Vole tilts it to the side, rolling towards the paveway. Anyway, I'll have the same for myself. I'll just come and fetch it later. You're robbing me of a good week's worth, boy. Tibald laughs, walking beside us. Vole stops the roll at the kiln, straightening up and rummaging inside of a small pouch at his back. He reveals a silver octagonal coin, flipping it to the chubby male. 1 vitreous token should cover that. Tibald is caught by surprise, and nearly drops it. Vitreous, you say? Well, I'll be damned. In that case, next week is on me. He laughs merrily, patting the black male. Not that I mind, but why? I have a long tab outstanding with that bastard. Ha 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 ha. Shoving his own token into his muzzle will get him off my back for the foreseeable future. Just stop drinking his wine and you should be fine. Vole shrugs and I nearly let out a chuckle. Vulgar, I've been brewing beer and booze since you were a pup. Wine is all I have left to enjoy. Then get used to sucking his dick. After all, he owns all the wine-producing burrows. Tibald erupts in another bout of laughter. He reminds me a bit of Vithrir. Clever bastard. He controls the wheat too, so my trade is heavily reliant on his. Wait, they own the burrows? Not the ones Silvan folk live in, I hope. Each wolf has his own place, said the village butcher. Between you and him, you control 2/3 of the food around here. I guess my mother knew what she was doing. Set you up for life, that bitch did. My eyes open wide at the comment, and despite it being made in clear jest, Vole doesn't seem to take too kindly to it as his form slightly tenses up. I understand you're bitter, but she's still my mother. Wouldn't want to break your jaw on top of your broken heart. I blink at the last comment, while the brewer laughs. No offense meant. One day you'll understand, lad. You will. Trust me, that day already came. Now I'm really curious about Vole's mom, but my rampant thoughts are brought to a halt as Tibald's paw lands on my shoulder. Mind lending me a paw, wee bugger? He opens a small jar filled with what looks like a cross between an acorn and Brussels sprouts. Oh, hops. Despite the off-putting appearance, they smell quite lovely, like fresh cut grass. See those? Fetch me a pawvole from the shed. He joins his paws together and points to the wooden hut nestling against his house. They'll be in big bags like those. His paw then indicates the big sack of wheat, and I simply nod. Where's your son? Shouldn't he be helping you around? My son? Ha! He's the one who needs all the help he can get. He's most likely chasing ghosts to the woods again. With David and Cam. I open the door with a slight creak and disappear into the storehouse. It's filled to the brim with different barrels and bags. Is it still that bad? Honestly, he never really recovered. The pillow-shaped ones are obviously filled with grain, but there are 4 big Santa-like sacks at the very back. I untie one of them and take a sniff. Bingo. He's a wolf without a purpose or a place in the tribe. He gave up on himself a long time ago, so I followed suit. No point setting yourself up for another disappointment. It's hard to discern anything over the potent aroma of boiled wheat, but there's an inkling of a scent somewhere here I very much want to get to. It's a smell of the forest, very akin to what Ranok smells like. I retrieve one of the green sprouts and take a deep breath. Nope, that's not the one. I'm sorry to hear that. I really did try. He was just... It's fine, Vole. It's not your responsibility to carry other wolves' weight. I untie the second bag and immediately smile. This is the one. This one smells like my wolf. I grab a handful as requested and walk outside. He was never much of a warrior, nor was he especially spiritual when you think about it. I'm not surprised he ended up how he did. I decided to give him until the equinox. If he doesn't get his shit together, I'll send him off. Where to? First to his mother, then it's the ancestors' will. I'm done with being the village laughingstock. I allow their exchange to finish before presenting my find to the male. To my surprise, his snout twitches and he lights up. Damn, he's got a good nose, that one. Wouldn't be my first choice of hops, but might be exactly what I need. He puts the sprouts into the jar and rubs his paws together, causing Vole to look curiously at the bubbling vat. What's that you're brewing? A new blend. I got bored cooking up the same old stuff. I dusted off some recipes, but found nothing remotely inspiring, so I'm winging it. The bunnies had a very odd year, and their hops are of varied quality. I've been tinkering with different ratios. This one's quite floral. Speaking of... He looks to my pen and points to the dandelion. That gives me an idea. Haven't done dandelion wine in quite a while. Oh, you can make wine of the stuff? Of course, quite tasty too, very much akin to mead. Tibald smiles in satisfaction. Used to be Eileen's favorite. I brewed casketfuls of that stuff back in the day. Those were the times. I can see Vole's expression sour, and he readjusts himself uncomfortably. We better get going. I'll fetch my stock before the feast. He mutters, bending over the barrel and giving me a telling look before rolling it off towards the town. Sure thing. That's an odd abrupt end to a conversation. I simply grab the large flagon, bow respectfully to the wolf, and rejoin Vole at his side. I'm glad I'm not the one rolling the keg, but the moonshine isn't exactly light either. I cradle the bottle against my chest, and we walk for a while in silence, allowing some distance between us and Tibald's house. Finally, when we're in the clear, I cannot contain my curiosity any longer. Who's Eileen? Don't go there, piglet. Vole mutters, and although he doesn't sound angry, he's quite stern. Forget that name, and if you value your life, don't ever bring it up. I take it she's your mother? I conclude, to which he only scoffs. You're deaf and dumb. She's not my mother. Okay. So what was that all about? Look, it has nothing to do with me, and certainly it has fuck all to do with you. His voice takes on a more serious tone. We don't talk about her in this tribe, and definitely do not mention her to Ranok. I'm pretty confused about this warning, but something tells me it's a good idea to listen. And from context, I get a feeling that Eileen might be Ranok's mother, making the whole conversation more troubling. Something must have happened. Something bad. You're overthinking shit again, piglet. Vole mutters, drawing my attention. He clearly picked up on my shift in mood. Sorry, you're right. I chuckle and seize this opportunity to tease him. So, Tibald was in love with your mom, I assume unrequitedly. Fuck knows. The Black Wolf shrugs. Mother liked attention, just like all females do. She let a lot of wolves on. He was just the last one to get that. I almost want to say that it's quite ironic coming from him, but I decide not to. Where's your mother now? She's moved on to be with her current mate. In another tribe? Nah, in another village south of here. Just as I thought, there are more places like this in the forest. Despite the appearance of being quite settled, they don't seem to be staying in one place for long. Do you miss her? Miss her? The wolf scoffs. She hardly could shut up, constantly yapping and growling, kinda like you. I was glad to see her back after the great feat. Once she was gone, I could finally have some peace and quiet. Do you visit her? What for? I seem to be amusing him with my line of questions, and the mockery in his voice becomes apparent. I don't know, because she's your mom? What am I, an unweaned pup needing a tit to suckle on? He gives me a telling look, insinuating that that's exactly what I sound like to him. I roll my eyes. We all have our lives, Piglet. Just because you have a pup doesn't mean you stop living. I've got my life. She's got hers. She did her job, as was expected of her. In fact, she did it better than most. She's earned the right to move on. No denying that. He's doing quite well for himself. She can definitely be proud of you, that's for sure. I smile reassuringly and manage to draw another subtle tail swish from the male. We enter the village in silence, as it's not safe for me to continue talking. The wolves pay us no mind, despite the loud creaking of the barrel across the pathway. I guess it's another perk of being in the company of the most notorious wolf in the tribe. Vole seems to be on the lookout, obviously worried we might stumble upon someone he'd rather avoid. But so far, so good. As much as I hate doing it, my paws grow rather sore, and I have to plop down the jug to take a few moments' rests. Vole stops his rolling and looks to me with clear annoyance, but all I can do is shrug apologetically. Carrying the 5 liters around is not something I'm used to. As I rub my arms to do away with the cramps, I notice Tano in the distance. He has a rather mischievous smile upon spotting me and begins to head in my direction when he suddenly notices Vole. His quick and comedic change of mind comes with little surprise, and the wolf marches off in the opposite direction. I chuckle and pick up my jug, nodding to Vole that we can continue. What's so funny? He looks confused, clearly unaware of this little near miss. Nothing. I mutter in amusement. I decide to let the little white wolf off the hook. When we arrive at the cottage, Vole brings the barrel to a stop, and I observe as he stretches his muscular back. He arches himself a few times with a satisfied groan, clearly getting rid of a cramp, and then points to the shed. Grab 2 thick logs, long enough to scale the steps. I nod and walk over there, rummaging through various pieces of wood. Once I return with his query, I grab the logs and place them over the stairs, creating a ramp. Again, I admire his body tense as he struggles slightly to push the barrel onto the wood, but he's strong enough to make it happen. The gravity gives in before his bulging biceps, and the wolf simply rolls the barrel up the stairs as if it was a trifle. You done gawking? He sniggers, noticing my intense gazes, and I shake my head as he resets the barrel to an upright position. Put them back. I do as he asked, and once I return, he's already moving it into the kitchen, wobbling it from side to side. I like his ingenuity. I would have probably given up, unable to roll the damn thing through the narrow door frame. He stops on the table and moves the old barrel out of the way, once I close the door. Once he sets the new casket in place, he releases a long sigh. What should I do with this? I shake the jug. Put it in the cupboard. I thought we would split it. It's quite a lot of booze. Considering the frequency with which we now visit this house, I'd say it's adequate. There's 4 of us after all. True, I suppose. I smile and approach the cupboard. Maybe unintentionally, but he just counted me as one of them. As I hide the jug inside one of the compartments, Vole lifts the empty barrel as if it were an oversized mug and chugs down the remaining liquid. I watch as some of it spills over his chin and drips onto his pecs, slowly trailing down his chiseled torso, down to his underbelly. My god, this character's horny. Damn, that's hot. Very horny. Fuck, I really am pent up. I need to stop objectifying people. What? Nothing. I blurt out, locking my embarrassed gaze with the floor, causing the wolf to do the same. Oh, sorry about that. He responds, noticing the puddle he created and mistaking my fluster for annoyance over the spill. It's fine. I'll take your advice and do a bit of housekeeping. And now that I know where the spring's at, I can also do Ranok's dirty laundry. I try not to linger in this awkwardness. It was a joke. although I'm sure he'd appreciate it. The wolf scoffs, rubbing his chin clean. Well, it'll give me something to do and occupy my mind. It's just... I pause, looking around. Just what? I'll have to hang it dry, but I didn't see any laundry racks outside. The wolf smirks and approaches the cupboard, opening the middle drawer and removing a large loop of rope. Here, Ranok uses this. He passes it to me, and I immediately recognize it. I was bound with Ranok's clothesline. You're so clueless at times. You span it between trees and the cottage. My confused expression is again misread by the wolf, and I chuckle. I know what to do with it. Then what's the problem? It's just a bit absurd, don't you think? Last week you bound me with this, and now I'm going to dry laundry on it. I shake the rope in my hand. Life's full of surprises in it. He shrugs, but is unable to deny the situation is somewhat funny and finally lets out a subdued laugh. Once our joint merriment subsides, he grabs the empty barrel by the rim and approaches the door. Right, got to go, Piglet. You sit tight. The guards won't be giving you any trouble. If they do, flash them my token. Should set them straight. He sneers in amusement, and I almost blush, reminded that I even got it. You haven't lost it yet, have you? No, I have it right here. He points towards the cupboard. Good. Just stay clear from the village today. Why's that? There's word that Dran was going around asking questions. I wouldn't like you to run into him. Not while he's excitable. Excitable? I subdue a chuckle, as that's one way to put it. Yeah, those old-timers rarely, if ever, bother with the plebs, unless they're out sniffing. And the last one we want them to sniff around is you. True. You take care, Piglet. He bobs his head respectfully and leaves, allowing me to go about my day. His idea is quite good, a very efficient use of my time while avoiding any potential freakouts. I quickly stuff myself with a few nibbles, washing it down with some water, and go to the bedroom. I waste not a minute and strip down the linen, down to the mattress, which I find quite smelly as well. In truth, it's just a sack packed full with hay, but before I decide to take it apart, I look around the wardrobe for any spares. As luck would have it, I find fresh bedding behind the first door, which allows me to continue with my task. I carefully remove all the straw in one side and add the mattress to the laundry pile. Lastly, I check the pillows, which are laced at the edges. Once I undo the fastening, I find them to be filled with soft feathers. Again, since there are spares in the wardrobe, I do exactly the same as with the mattress. When the laundry heap is complete, I decide to fix the bedding before the draft blows the house full of straw and feathers. Stuffing everything back into the fresh duvets takes quite some time, but after an hour or so, the bedding is back to how it should be. I feel quite proud and accomplished. I am a good ward. My boastfulness dampens a little as I gaze at the massive pile of linen to wash. It'll be helpful, but at least I won't be left at the mercy of my own thoughts. I take it all into the kitchen and fold neatly into the basket. There's still some room left, and I'm reminded of Ranok's chest. That thing needed to be cleaned out a week ago. I walk back into the bedroom and open the latch, peering inside. Right, the padded armor definitely could use a wash. So with the loincloths dotted at the bottom of the chest. As I remove them one by one, dropping onto a new pile, I sense my heart rate speed up and I'm suddenly flushed. His smell, his musk, is so intoxicating, and I'm immediately drawn back to that forceful kiss. His lips push against mine, his breath, his scent. Before I know it, I'm already inhaling deeply one of his underwear, and nearly yelp out at my own perverseness. What the hell? I'm like one of those cliche kids sniffing jocks' undies in the locker room when they're not around. Ugh, and now I'm so hard. I seriously need to take care of that tonight. I cannot be walking around on edge like this. I'm basically turning into a huge horn dog at this point. It's just Ranok's dirty laundry. Get a hold of yourself, Emilio. I simply empty his locker onto the pile and close the chest behind. The locker. Once everything sits neatly in the basket, I grab my bar of soap and drape one of Ranok's spare cloaks across my arm. I'm leaving the most fragrant one for my comfort blankie should the nights grow too lonely to face on my own. Making sure I've got everything, I step outside and head to the spring. The day enters its late afternoon hours, judging by the low-hanging sun in the western sky. I've managed to wash out the loincloths along with the pillowcases and the padded armor without any issue, but the linens are quite stubborn. Not to mention, when soaked, they get incredibly heavy and my sore arms hurt more than I would like. It's been at least a few hours since I came here, and God, do I miss a proper washing machine. Or a laundrette. Laundrette, my kingdom for a laundrette. I chuckle, shaking my head. When he said I would find you here, I thought he was joking. Jesus Christ! I yelp out in panic, despite recognizing her voice. Who? Never mind. I mumble, rushing after the linen I dropped before it gets washed away. You scared the crap out of me. You move like a ghost. I finally exhale, trying to calm my startled heart. I take great pride in that. Not funny. No, not as much as finding you here. Again, I thought he was joking. I mean, he did suggest it as a joke, but I might as well do some proper work while I'm alone and idle. I shrug, kneeling back on my spot and proceeding to soap up the cloth. That's the spirit. She nods in approval and kneels beside me. What were you saying back then? Huh? Oh, it was just a joke. I wave my hand at her. In your native tongue? Wait, you didn't understand it? Not a language I've ever heard. That comment throws me off, but then I just flush my brows. I suppose a laundrette is quite an obscure word. What does it mean? Oh boy, here comes a ticket situation again. It's a place filled with washing machines. Washing machines? Maybe you are mad. She rolls her eyes and laughs mockingly. What? Why? Once I see the look on her muzzle, I realize they're most likely unfamiliar with the idea of home appliances. This is all you need for washing. She points her arms and reaches out for one at the end of the linen. Allow me to lend you a paw. She takes a hold of the cloth and moves it over onto one of the smooth stones. She reaches for the soap and I pass it to her, watching as she glides it across a now straightened surface. See? This makes it easier, and you get soap into the fabric more evenly. Huh. Thanks. I mumble in gratitude, trying to mimic her method. She helps out by taking care of the remaining bedding, and we work for a while in silence, passing the soap back and forth. That should be all, no? Versa asks as I rinse the last of the cloth with soapy scum. Yeah, I just need to wring those. Good thing I'm here then, It would definitely take more time, that's for sure. We each grab one end of the linen and twist it in the opposite direction, squeezing the water out between the fibers. Once she's done, she helps me fold everything neatly into the basket. Your marking's washed off a little, I state, seeing her tattoos lose its sharpness. It's all right. I have to redo them every now and then. What do they mean, anyway? You can't read them. No? She gives me a somewhat confused gaze, but her voice carries a hint of a jab at our exchange from an earlier moments ago. Curious. I thought you said you read some books. I assumed they were woven, but might have been Tigiri. I guess so. I shrug and pick up the laundry and ready to depart. This language thing is really getting more and more bizarre. The basket got quite heavy on account of the remaining moisture held by the cloth, and I struggle a little. Versa simply grabs the other end and helps to alleviate the burden. I smile to her with gratitude, and she simply winks in return. So, what are your markings anyway? They're a prayer of protection, warding of evil spirits. You believe in those? I believe in the ancestors, Emilio. She chuckles. There's evil people out there, some of them even amongst us. Why would I not believe in evil spirits? That's a good question. I concede with a smile. If I had ancestors like Aldris or Dran to look forward to, I'd also ward against them. When we arrive at the cottage, I plop the basket and fetch the clothesline. Versa helps me string it in between the trees and some hooks and nails protruding from the side of the house. We create 3 racks like this, more than enough to dry what we have in the basket. Before I manage to voice my concern about the wind blowing some of the lighter items away, she showcases me a small bowl filled with wooden laundry pegs. She retrieves it from underneath one of the bushes nestled against one of the support trees. Looking at it now, I can see the bruises left by the previous washing-ups. I guess she helped Ranok before, if she knows where those were. Not the first time doing this, I assume? If you mean laundry in general, of course not. If you mean doing it for Ranok, you clearly don't know me well enough. She chuckles, helping me straighten out one of the duvets. But I did often watch Ranok do his routine. Why? There's nothing more satisfying than to watch a male fail at the simplest of domestic tasks. Is Ranok that helpless? Was at first. He learns fast, tough. I smile, reaching out to the remaining loincloths. Once everything is hung and secured, I pick up the basket and offer her to come inside. Want something to drink? We've restocked Ranok's supply. I offer, closing the doors behind her. So I've heard. Anything interesting happened? Not particularly. The brewery smelled nice at first, but it quickly got a bit overpowering. Yeah. She chuckles. Good thing Tibald lives out in the outskirts. But even despite that, the wind sometimes carries the stench over to my place. About that drink, then? I shake 2 mugs, which I've just rinsed in the bowl. Aren't you just sweet? I'd love to, but I can't. Versa looks troubled towards the window. Aldris and Dran are in town. I've heard. But don't they live here anyway? Not in the village, no. She shakes her head. They live in the woods nearby. Closest they ever show themselves is the villa, and you've seen how far away that is. Yeah, a bit of a trek. So, you can see how having them walk around the village and poke every wolf they find is a bit troubling. You think they're after me? She can't help but snort in a somewhat undignified fashion. Not everything is about you, Kaelin. She teases and I smile. However, we wouldn't want them to run into you, or worse yet, find out that I'm sipping drinks here. True. So I better get going. I also want to check in on Vole. I have a feeling that they might question him later. I'd rather avoid bloodshed. She shudders slightly and I laugh. I'm not worried for Vole. Neither am I. She replies in a somewhat serious tone. I just don't want this to get ugly. You know how easy it is to set him off. Yeah. I nod hastily, my levity now completely gone. That Dran guy is literally asking for someone to rip out his throat. Seeing Vithrir and the chief being ready to throw down, edging Vole in the same fashion would be suicidal. I mean, not a great loss as far as I can see, but I don't think any harm to those old farts would come without consequence. I'm sure he already said that, but stay put. I nod in acknowledgement. As much as I don't like it, Cora will bring you some food in the evening. It'll be easier that way with them around. She is nice, but don't mess with her. She's smarter than she looks, she states firmly, opening the door. Oh, I've noticed that only a fool would dismiss her. Perhaps there is hope for your sex? I hear her melodic laugh as the door closes. With her gone, I pull my dandelion from the pin and look at it closely. It unfolded beautifully and is almost as radiant as the day Ranok left it. I'm immediately relieved and hastily put it back into the cup. It really just needed some sun, just as I needed some fresh air. I find that getting work done feels very rewarding and think about celebrating it with ale. However, I quickly find that the barrel is not tapped and have no idea how to get to it. So I simply sit back and enjoy my hard-earned meal properly, nibbling on Vole's meats and cheeses. That might be an innuendo. I mean, it could be. I spent the remainder of the day washing up the dirty dishes and cleaning up the house some more. There wasn't much work left, so I had a long, dreary chunk when all that I could do was worry about the elders. If they really show their faces rarely, why now? Does it have anything to do with Ranok? Or me? I know Verissa said not everything revolves around me. However, the chief and Vithrir both believe that I might be the unknown to tip the scales. In all fairness, I wouldn't like to be on the scales to begin with, but such is life. How crazy things got since I woke up, that little amnesiac bundle of anxiety, angst, and despair. My memory didn't get any better, but boy did shit get complicated fast. I wouldn't mind trading places with that little wimp. However, I'd have to relive this whole thing all over again. I grimace, rubbing my fake dressing. In truth, between each wash-up, I saw the scar fade further and further away until it was just barely visible scrape now. I cast my troubled gaze at the barrel. Fuck, I could really use that ale. I'm not going to drink moonshine on my own. That's just sad, and most likely would give the voices something to bitch about. I've been doing fine so far, despite running out of errands. Not gonna sabotage myself like that. And should they become more persistent, I might secretly copy Verissa's markings and see if that will help. Ooh, you didn't like that idea, did you? I can sense it. Both of us can play this game. It would be an interesting experiment, that's for sure, and it could provide me with more proof should I confront them about my slight unhingement. A knock stirs me to here and now, and I'm reminded of my evening food delivery. I straighten up my dress and approach the doors, opening them with a polite smile. Just as expected, Cora enters the house with a deliciously aromatic pie in her paws. Damn, my mouth waters at the smell of what I assume is meat in rich gravy. Hello, pet. How are you holding up? Her usual melodic voice sounds rather aggravated. Sorry I was running so late. I was held up by an interrogation. She continues to talk as if I was one of them, until she simply blinks in self-realization. Oh, I know. Again, as is her custom by now, she pantomimes a shaky, elderly person with a walking stick and then proceeds to yap with her hands. I cannot contain a chuckle. She's spot on with those. She'd be freaking pro at charades. You get it. I bet you've had your own share. You have no idea, sister. Without asking, and of her own accord, she fetches a plate and a knife, starting to cut into the pie. They've been asking all sorts of stupid questions, like, did I notice anything odd about Ranok? Or have I seen any unusual spending on his part, as if it was any of my damn business? What's odd is that fat lump of flesh in that cape-tailing Aldris like her damn shadow. Are they even a thing? Ew. She sounds quite rattled, clearly offended by the whole situation, and seems more like venting rather than talking to me. Not gonna lie, I don't feel happy about them conducting some sort of inquest. I was right, they're trying to find dirt on my wolf. Anyway, I know Ranok most likely did buy some things for you. I mean, who wouldn't? She shrugs. Not all of us can watch wards shamble about in tatters. half starving to death. Bally cheek. She pauses her task, barely containing a growl. It's his damn money. If he were to drape you in pure gold, that would be within his right. She even asked me about the pie, if all the food is accounted for. The nerve. Cora resumes her task and places a sizable slice onto my plate. It's my food. I paid for it. What business is it of hers? Ooh, I told that vile woman that if I'd stuff you full of pheasants and grouse. She's nearly shaking and I place a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry. I'm babbling. I know you can't understand, but just had to get this off my chest. Her saddened gaze trails the general direction of the village. I wouldn't be able to deal with the feast otherwise, not with them present and with Ranok gone. She frowns, looking at me with genuine worry. I can wholeheartedly understand that sentiment. Perhaps I didn't handle them well, but they get so nosy. And they clearly were trying to find some hooks to use against Ranok. I feel quite taken by her remorseful sigh and tap her shoulder encouragingly. If there's a wolf worth a damn around here, it's definitely him. No arguments from me. I better get going, otherwise they take my tardiness as an excuse to barge in here. God forbid. I hope you'll enjoy it, sweetie. She mutters, approaching the door. It's beef with plums and apricots. Sounds even more delightful than it smells. See you later, Pat. Her customary farewell sounds downtrodden, and I wave at her with genuine worry. Damn. Things are much more serious than I expected. Despite the extremely appealing meal, my appetite is quite gone. So the elders were interviewing everyone. Perhaps wearing this dress wasn't a good idea after all. But what else was I supposed to do? Go dressed up as Mowgli? That or a sexy hobbit? As the hours go by, my tortured thoughts begin going in circles, and I simply dig into the pie before it grows completely cold. The meal lifts my spirits somewhat as I enjoy the deliciously hearty gravy and succulent meat accompanied by some juicy prunes. But at the end of the day, it's just that, a meal. It won't solve any of the problems we face. The amount of work done today, along with a full belly, quickly sends me into a daze, and I decide to wash up and head to bed. I leave the fire burning, as well as take Ranok's scented cloak to give myself some comfort while I drift off into hopefully undisturbed sleep. Once I'm snuggled comfortably in bed, I simply close my eyes and take a deep inhales from my blanket. The scent of my wolf sends a pleasant chill down my spine, and I reminisce of the few times we shared in bed. I miss him terribly. But the longer I linger on him, the more and more my mind drifts to that kiss. I can almost feel his steamy breaths against my skin, his hard groin pressing against mine as his tongue explores my mouth in a passionate kiss. My breath speeds up and my loins come to life. It's hard to keep my mind straight when it comes to that wolf. I'm pretty pent up. I haven't done anything naughty since I woke up, and since then, I've been teased to hell, edged, and left hanging. Not to mention that intoxicating kiss. Ugh. I guess I'll let off some steam. I release a deep sigh and simply reach towards my underbelly. As my hand slides beneath the loincloth, I gasp and take a deep inhale from the cloak. Tonight, I'll be thinking of my wolf. My dreams will be sweet, tender, and erotic. But above all, tonight, we'll be together, even if just in my mind. To be continued. Well, that was the end of the first part of this upcoming chapter. If you haven't already heard, the writer will be doing these as little bits and pieces. So instead of being a hour or hours long update, it's just going to be 1 hour update. And then the next update will be around June the 5th. So, yeah, the next episode is around June the 5th. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator, there will be a link down for their Patreon. If you would like to follow the creator, there will be a link down for their Twitter as well. And I guess that's it, and thank you all for watching, and bye-bye.